ladies and gentlemen. And so this is a panel discussion on 5G and beyond, catalyzing India's deep tech innovation. And to take that conversation, may I invite Satish Jamadagni, Senior Vice President, Global Standards, Reliance Jio, Girish Baliga, General Manager, Industry Marketing, Keysight Technologies, Satish Kanagovi, Head Standardization in Industry Engagements APAC region, Nokia, and as our panelists take their seats on the stage, also Lekha, Ramu Srinivasaya, Founder Director of Lekha Wireless. I'm sure as audience, we can welcome and cheer the fact that they are here and will have this conversation going. Over to the moderator as well as the speakers.
Good evening, Bangalore. Hope you guys are in high spirits. On behalf of this esteemed panel over here, would like to really thank IMC for having us over. I think we are extremely proud of being part of this IMC Roadshow 2025 in this great city, Bengaluru. Just as a quick introduction, I'm Sonika Bajaj. I'm from KPMG. I'm a partner with the firm focusing on TMT as a sector, and extremely privileged to be part of this panel session. India has taken multiple strides in telecommunication sector, and 5G is, I think, one of the strong feats which we've achieved. So, but I think as an industry, we are looking at what beyond 5G. I think with our government's focus on being a deep tech leader, there's so much that's being done on AI, on semiconductor, on quantum, but I think telecom is the catalyst which can enable India to achieve its dreams. And that's going to be the focus area for today's discussion. So maybe I'll start off with Satish, being the leader in the 5G stack. I think you've helped the country achieve great strides in 5G. So maybe your views on what are the biggest learnings that you've seen through the 5G deployment.
So, first of all, I'm speaking as the TSDSI chairman, not as Reliance Jio, so that way I can speak a bit more freely. This 5G, the biggest learning of 5G deployment is that 5G is not half as good as it was projected to be. That is the biggest learning. There are multiple issues in 5G. First of all, the waveform between 4G and 5G is the same thing. A lot of other technologies like massive MIMO, which was supposed to deliver the punch, it did not. So that's where we are right now. Coverage is another key issue. That is one of the key learning, and that has to translate into what is called the 6G now. Now the 6G initial steady item template is already out, and it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good. For the first time in the history of telecommunications, third generation of technology is based on the same air interface. Like, for example, OFDM was the basic air interface for LTE, 5G. Now, even for 6G, looks like that is the one which is going to be. So there's nothing much you can expect in terms of spectral efficiency or whatever, until you squeeze so much of spectrum and other things. So that's where we stand right now. And there is another point which I just wanted to add on the 5G stack. Every industry has a food chain, and the top of the food chain, or the basic fundamental thing, is the chip. You don't do the chip, you better refrain from saying that we have a 5G stack. It's very hard to sell because, see, it's one thing, I got everything working, but then you're getting all the parts from everywhere else and you're trying to sell it to a third world. No, I mean, it's not going to be cost competitive. It's a different ballgame altogether. Those are the key learnings from 5G that we'll have to take along. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Satish. I think you made a very valid point in terms of the great work that we're doing. ISM has been launched, but how do we see action on ground, specifically India taking lead on some of these areas? I think that's where we'll need contribution from organizations like yours. Maybe Girish, if I can move to you. we've talked about 5G, but I think everybody, and specifically the country, the government's focus is on how does India make a mark on 6G. 6G implementation and standards. So, what do you think would be the key areas of focus that the government should kind of bring in if it was to achieve the leadership position, specifically in terms of infrastructure or the ecosystem support that needs to be created?
Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot for giving me an opportunity to be part of the panel. I'm from Keysight Technologies, and testing is a very integral part. I mean, fine, you may be having the state of the art device, chipset, whatnot, right? But end of the day, it all boils down to testing, right? So, and coming from Keysight Technologies and being the kind of among the top when it comes to electronic instrumentation. So, one of the coming back to your question specifically, right? So, we were into when we got into 4G and so on. So we have an esteemed panel; they know better. But we had a significant lag, right? I'm talking with respect to our country. So then, when we moved into 5G, there was a lag, but not as bad as when it was in 4G, right? But with 6G, now right now in a state of flux, probably 2030 and so on and so forth. FR3 becoming 6G and a lot of noise in the market and so on, right? So we are there. With respect to 5G, we were having a small lag, like I said, but with 6G, we need to be there. And it is not just something in the media, it's been written about and so on and so forth, right? But there's a lot of stuff happening on the ground for sure. So the vision and the wish list is to ensure that when there is a global launch, whenever that happens with respect to say the 6Gs, whatever flavor, right? So we want to be in line with what probably the US would be doing or Europe or even China, right? So now specifically answering your question, so what is that happening rather than just glamour, right? So there's a lot of stuff happening. Coming from Keysight Technologies, and especially when you're talking about the test beds specifically, and all of us know who is working on this, who are the people. We have the Bharat 6G initiative and so on, right? So there's a lot of work happening, and we are on the forefront of such activities. Meaning, we have hit the ground running. How much will it help? How much are we going to take that forward? Only time will tell. But the point is, with all these test beds going in, and we are also doing business with all these folks, whether with the IITs and so on, right? And we know who are the nodal agencies, and so there's a lot of stuff happening for sure. That lag is going, but how much will it translate into how we will be in the pole position when 6G comes into the picture, right? Is pretty much the wish list what we have. I think I answered your question. Yeah.
Yes, very much. And I think the fact that you alluded to the test beds that the government has launched two test beds for the 6 terahertz. I think that's a great stride and should help a lot of innovators, startups to kind of leverage these facilities around the testing opportunities available. Um, Satish, if I move on to you, I mean, given your global experience from Nokia, as I said, startups have a big role to play in the innovation that we're trying to drive in India. What kind of collaboration opportunities do you see for startups with companies like yourselves in kind of um benefiting from the knowledge base that you guys have on 6G and beyond, 5G and beyond, sorry, and some of the other deep tech initiatives that are possible through these technologies?
Thanks a lot, and also thanks to the organizers for having me here. So I represent Nokia, and just before answering the question to your point, what we can do here, I also wanted to give a little bit of background of how our organization has been kind of leading, if you may, in a very humble sense, the technology innovation for the past 100 years. So Nokia now prides itself in having Nokia Bell Labs, which has of course passed through many companies, and it has its legacy of its own, and it's very pertinent also that we are celebrating 100 years of the establishment of this industrial research house. So innovation has been the lifeblood of the company, and we have, I mean, so if you see, it started with the transistor that forms the basis of most of the technology innovation that we have here. Then we have this communication satellite, lasers, charge coupled device, MIMO, what all and what not. So that has been the legacy. And one thing that we have learned, and also our our like CSTO has very clearly told that if we have to win in this domain of 5G beyond, if you call 6G, collaboration is the key. And this is also what we have learned, not now in this context, but over the period. I mean, we have always been collaborating with the academia, with the startups, with our competitors in terms of understanding the challenges of the new technology development. So the new technology development is always an unknown, and that can only be done best in a collaborative fashion. In the current context, if I come back to the context of 5G and beyond, we have seen that the most successful contributors to the technology development till now have been coming from the region, say for example in Europe or in US. And the pattern that we see there is that there are actually consortiums where people who are otherwise competing for the market actually, as part of pre-competitive phase, do the research together. So we would have companies like Nokia, Ericsson, and then there would be like academic institutions, startups, subject matter experts who all come together. A particular project is formulated, then people brainstorm ideas, and when some concept develops, that then kind of triggers an activity around that technology with the larger ecosystem there. So I think that kind of collaboration, consortium based approach with of course policy support from the government and the industry is really very important for us to succeed in this domain. And it is also we're also very fortunate to be part of this geography India, that is right at this point in time, because we are on the rise now, right? We must be lucky. Because if you had wanted to do or have this discussion about like 20 years back, people would be thinking kya kar loge, हाँ बैठ के हो सकता है. But now, you had the panel there, right? There were people who have actually done something. So, if at all it is possible, this is the time for us now. So I think the way different projects have, it's not to copy, but trying to get an understanding of how things have worked. If you can also have a consortium-based approach where people come together to actually discuss, understand what the challenges of our society is currently. Because the innovation has to have some goal, right? So what those challenges are and what are the technology solutions, and try to build those things together. That is what is needed. Okay, Nokia having an experience of leading like many such initiatives, whether it is in US or in Europe, we are very happy to do that. We have a footprint of both a large product team as well as the cutting edge Bell Labs in India, and then as part of that, we would be very happy to work with academia or startups or other ecosystem partners in terms of trying to understand how we can overcome some of these challenges and go together. So this also requires a kind of push and pull from both sides. So we have been reaching out, and we would also welcome people who are interested to collaborate to also come and discuss with us. And of course, everything has to have some kind of funding support coming from the government. So any policy initiatives that would encourage that would be very helpful.
No, thank you so much, Satish. I think what you said is very relevant. India, while it's taking strides in a lot of areas, but I think India's innovation requires India understanding Indians' requirements very well. And I think there's this strong need of collaboration of tech providers, OEMs like yourselves, and startups to kind of come together to solve these problems, unique problems.
Let me just add one thing. So while we start with India thing, the mode now is that we develop it for India, and then it is very much possible that if we get the scale in India, it is also relevant for the world. So we have to really aim a little bit bigger and beyond India, I would say.
Absolutely. Um, Ramu, if I may come to you, I think you've recently won this big, you backed this BSNL 5G rollout order. So maybe your perspectives on how, maybe little bit details on your solution in terms of how does your solution meet the next gen technologies of 5G and beyond? And specifically, if you can maybe also talk about a little bit on how does it get standardized in terms of the 6G requirements, global requirements that organizations are talking about.
Yeah, thanks, Sonika, and thanks to organizers for having me here. Just to talk about Leica's journey, we are a 14-year-old company. We started off with 4G stack. Um, Today we are deploying 4G network for Indian Defense, Indian Army, Indian Navy. So as a deep tech company, what we see is the journey of developing this stack, getting it matured is a very long effort. It needs a lot of commitment, patience, and perseverance because we are competing with likes of the big players who are there in the business for last 40 years, 30 years. And so in this journey, it's not going to be simple because you might have seen that machine learning and AI, right? So when a lot of things are learning, there is a way you can deploy, learn, and then commercialize it. That option is not there in telecom. Probably Satish can comment on that. So generally, the operator needs the day one a carrier grade system. So that puts a huge entry barrier, right, for any newcomer to really enter. The stack development is something which we lack in India because not many companies have the stack. And getting it matured, right? Say every time we deploy, every time a network is utilized, there is a learning. It has to grow. And this journey is very critical. Today, Leica is one of the, you rightly mentioned about BSNL deployment. So we carrying forward our learning from 4G and we are going to deploy a fixed wireless access network as part of the BSNL thing. And of course, today we are deploying private 5G network for many applications. This learning, again, we are contributing back to the 6G standard where our team is working on some of the key areas and have filed multiple patents.
Thank you so much, Satish. It's Ramu, sorry. It's really inspiring to see an Indian company leading the charge here. I think this panel represents of what India can do. We've got an Indian telecom operator and standard setting organization setting, representative setting here. We've got an Indian entrepreneur who's achieved the Indian stack, and we've got global capabilities on testing, on product capabilities. I think the power of all of you guys coming together is what can create the magic of India taking the lead on 6G and kind of unfolding the potential that it brings through in terms of deep tech implementation. So thank you so much. We are a little short on time, so I think we would like to. I would like to thank, on behalf of all my panelists, I will thank you IMC for giving us this opportunity. It's been a great experience to be here.
Thank you, Sonika. May I invite Ritu Sharma, TAI Executive Director, to please step up on stage and give tokens of gratitude to all the to the moderator as well as the speakers on this panel. Thank you so much. And of course, given the very limited time, you managed to pull through the conversation with great clarity. Let's hear it for all our speakers once again. A round of applause. Meanwhile, Ritu will step up on stage to honor them. To each of our speakers, Sonika, who was moderating, and then Satish Jamadagni, Girish Baliga, Satish Kanugovi, as well as Ramu Srinivasaya. The organizers would like to express their gratitude for being here and having that 5G conversation on DeepTech. Should be always a time for that one picture, because no matter what, that moment certainly has to be captured.